Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's time to do a little bit more math work today in this video. I'll try and make it as efficient as possible, but it will take a little bit of time to sort of dig in here. We are going to be working on division. And I know that some of you in the class are like, I'm snippety snap with my division. I've got it. I know how to do all kinds of long division, no problem. And I know for a fact that there's individuals in the class that are really feeling like, it's been a long time and I don't remember how to do that. Or I never actually fully understood it to begin with. And so, but you know what? Here's the deal. You guys are a lot older and a lot more mature. Your brains have continued to develop in the interim. So between now and when you first had that experience with division, I think you'll probably have a stronger understanding of it today. If not, I strongly, with a capital S, encourage you to pop into my office hours and ask for help. At any point, you can say, help Lifeline with division. Give me some support here, guys. But the nice thing about this is there's lots of resources out there. You could go to Khan Academy. You could look up online. I mean, any kind of long division, there's just millions of places out there. But we're doing it right now. So we've got a video that we're going to do here that's going to help talk you through long division, specifically what do you do when there's decimals involved. So I'll talk you through it, hopefully give you some strategies that will be supportive. And if not, you can always come in and check with me at any point to get that support. So let's hit it. So go ahead and get your notebooks out. Remember, you're taking notes on all this. And there's something that's been real curious. A bunch of people for these video assignments have been only showing me the photograph of the video question, the last question. So we're going to do 4 questions today before you get to the homework question. So when you show me the photos, I expect to see 5 different questions represented that are notes for this video. So make sure that you copy it all down, not just the last question, the one that I say is the homework part. I want you to do make sure you write all these down as we go through them, all right? That's why I keep inviting you to pause the video as needed to make sure you have a chance to copy down what we've got, all right? Okay, let's hit it. So your first problem that I want you to write down is a real friendly one, 476 divided by 8. And so as you're writing that down, I will take a moment to just remind us, what does that even mean? So this division, 476 divided by 8, what we're asking is how many groups of 8 are there in 476? I have 476 comic books and 8 friends, and I'm gonna sort of make sure that everybody has fair sharing, that I've divided them all up evenly so everyone has the same pile of comics. How many is each person going to get? So our answer is going to be the total of taking 476 and making all those 8 equal piles, right? And so what's inside each pile, right? So the steps for division as we go through are pretty repetitive. I mean, it's a pretty repetitive system. So we have divide, then you multiply, then you subtract, then you bring down the next digit if there is one to bring down, and then you repeat, meaning start at the beginning and go through the whole sequence again. Now, I don't know how you remember that, but I always remember it because Dracula must suck blood repeatedly, right? So dividing is Dracula, multiply is must, suck is subtract, B is bring down, but that's also blood, and then repeatedly, right? So repeatedly is both, repeating both back. All right, so let's start going through that. And so again, forgive me if this is feeling repetitive for those of you that are masters of division. Just be patient with us as we go through here. So I'm going to cover up everything but that 4. How many times can I count by 8 and land on 4? And I can't, right? So I don't have anything above that 4. This space above 4 on our division problem is going to be left blank because I can't do it. But now I pull this back here. Now I can count by 8s and get really close to 47. Sometimes I land right on it. But right now, what's the closest I can get to 47 without going over if I'm counting by 8s? I go 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. 48 is too big, right? So 5, I was able to get 5 sets of 8 before I went over, right? So that's my division step. All right, the next step is to multiply. Well, what am I multiplying? Well, how many is 5/8? That's 40. Okay, good job. Subtract. Well, now I subtract. What's left? There's 7. Then the next, oh, I subtracted. Check it off. Bring down. Well, bring down our next digit. There it is. Bring down our next digit. And I actually do like to draw that arrow to help myself keep nice and straight and organized. I don't draw the arrow all the way down in here because that's where the number sits. My 6, boop, drops down, sits next to the 7. So now I've got 76. And now I brought down, and now I repeat, and now I divide again. How many 8s are there in 76? All right, well, gosh, that's a good question. I do know that 8 times 10 is 80, and 76 is pretty close to 80. So I know, and so 10 is too big. So I'll go 9. 9 times 8 is 72. All right, so I just divide it. 8 goes into 76 9 times. I multiply. 9 times 8 is 72. Now I subtract. 76, take away 72 is 4. My next step would be bring down, and there's nothing to bring down. So you might think, I'm done. If you are a 4th or 5th grader, then you would go up here and you'd say remainder 4, but we're not there anymore. Now we're in decimal land. How did I even get to decimal land? I didn't want to turn left at Albuquerque and land in decimal land. I wanted to, but here we are. I'm sorry, I need to get that smudge off of there. All right, so I turned left at Albuquerque and landed in decimal land. So here's where we're going to continue our problem a little bit. So we didn't show the decimal point in this math problem, but it was there all along. It's kind of like the ruby slippers. You have the ability to go home all along from decimal land if you just click your heels 3 times. But I add my decimal here. It always was there because 476, this is where the decimal point would be. But now I'm allowed to add a 0, and I can bring my 0 down, right? Because I can add a 0 there. You can have as many zeros here as you want. I have 476 and nothing in the tens place, nothing in the hundredths place, nothing. I said tens, I meant tenths. Hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. There's nothing in any of those. There's zeros in all those spots, right? But I can bring down a 0 as needed because that's what's sitting there. So I brought down my 0 and then I repeat. Divide. 8 goes into 40. How many times? Well, it goes in 5 times, but I forgot something. This is important. When I add my decimal point, it's also sitting right there in my answer. Because remember how I talked about 8 goes into 47 and my answer goes here, not here? And that's why it really matters. Is because the decimal point has a specific location where it belongs. And so having my answer, if I put my 5 here and then my 9 here, then there would be this empty space and the decimal point sits straight above. So it matters where you place your answer in division. All right. So 8 did not go into the 4. 8 went into the 47. All right. So 8 goes into 40 5 times. That was divide. Multiply. 5 times 8. That is 40. That was multiply. Subtract. I've got nothing left. So I don't need to worry about any of these other zeros. No other zeros are going to come down. And we are done because I hit 0. Now, sometimes you won't hit 0 and you'll still be done. And we'll talk about that just in a minute. So 476 divided by 8 gives us 59 and 5/10. And we're done with this problem. All right. So take a moment, make sure that when you write this down, thank goodness you're writing on graph paper, because then your numbers can just drop straight down, have it really neat and organized. It should have this beautiful sort of tapering appearance when you do it correctly. And I honestly, if you are at all shaky about your division steps, I would make your little checklist of Dracula must suck blood repeatedly, or divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. I would make your checklist there as well so you can keep track of your steps so you can remember what to do next. Take a moment, copy it down. All right, here is your second problem that we're working on right now. You've got 625 divided by 15. So, you know, I don't have my 15s instantly memorized in terms of our math fact. It's a little different because we've got a double-digit number out here, right? But sometimes it might be helpful for you to just sort of make yourself a list of the multiples of 15 or the multiples of whatever this number is, so it can help you do this division problem more quickly. And so I'm going to do that for us here. We've got 15 is 15 times 1. 15 plus 15 is 30. 30 plus 15 is 45. 45 plus 15 is 60. And you'll notice this pattern of 30, 60, and then every other one is a multiple of 30. 30, 60, 90, right? So 60 plus 15 is 75. 75 plus 15 will give us the 90. 90 plus 15 is 105. 105 plus 15 is going to give us 120. And I think that's good enough, right? That'll help us out for starters, right? So remembering our steps. Dracula must suck blood repeatedly. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. All right? So we know that 15 does not go into 6. So there's not going to be an answer right up here, right? But it'll be here because 15 does go into 62. It goes in there 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? So we can have a 4 up here. That was our divide step, right? 4, then multiply. 4 times 15 is 60. Now we subtract. 62 take away 60 is 2. Bring down, that's going to give us our 5 coming down to 25. All right, and then we repeat. Going back to the beginning. How many times does 15 go into 25? It goes in there 1 time. 1 times 15 is 15. I subtract and I get 10. All right, there's nothing else to bring down that we can see, but guess what? There is something there. Our decimal point sits here and it shoots straight up and sits right here. And now I can add a 0 because this is still equal to 625, even if there's a 0 in our 10th place, right? Now I have something to bring down. 15 goes into 100. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 is too much. 105 is too much. So 6, right? 6 times 15 is 90. Right? So I divided. 15 goes into 100 6 times. I multiplied. 6 times 15 is 90. I subtract. I get 10. Again, there's nothing to bring down, but I could put another 0 there. Bring it down. What? I have 100 again. I got 100 again. Well, we already know that 15 goes into 100 6 times. 6 times 15 is 90. I subtract, and I get 10. If I add another 0, it's going to bring it down. It's going to give me 100 again. So this is what they call a repeating decimal. I'm stuck in a loop, right? Every time I go through this cycle, I'm going to end up with 100, which 15 goes in 6 times. 16 times 15 is 90. I subtract, I'll have 10. Bring a 0 down. It's another 100, right? So that's when you get permission to then draw a line over the repeating digits, whatever digit repeats. Now, sometimes I've seen division problems that repeat in such a way that the repeating decimal goes 125, 125, 125, 125. And when that's the case, then you draw the line over the whole thing, the 1, 2, and the 5, whatever is repeating. I like for you, and so do most of your math teachers that you will have in the future, want you to go to the hundredths place, even if it's repeating. But sometimes if you go to the hundredths place, it won't repeat, and it'll just keep going with a different number, and it will not be a repeating decimal, and that's okay. but you could still just stop when you get to the 100th place. Sometimes people want to go to the 1000th place, but that's okay. So I'm going to leave this here, give you a chance to write those problems down. All right, here's our third problem that we're doing. You'll notice something different now. There's a decimal point outside. Now it follows a different rule. Dracula must suck blood repeatedly still are our steps. But there's one more little step we've got to do beforehand. So I've got 327 divided by 1 2/10. Now, you are not allowed to have a decimal out here. You have to get rid of this decimal that's outside of our division symbol, right? We're not allowed to have a decimal out here, but there's something that's very easily done to correct that, to get that decimal removed. And what you're going to do, you're probably not going to ever think this, but let me tell you what you're doing. You're going to move your decimal spot 1 over, because I just want to get rid of it. And I want to move my decimal point over until this becomes a whole number here. So now if this decimal point gets moved, now this is a 12, not a 1.2, right? Now, here's what you're doing there. You may not think about this in the future, but here's what you're doing there. You are multiplying this number by 10. You thought to yourself, only you probably didn't think this, but this is what you're doing. 1.2 times 10 is 0 times 2 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, smiley face. 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 1 is 1. You add, you get 120, but you move your decimal because of 1 digit to the right of the decimal. You move it over, boom, that's where it sits. You just multiplied 1.2 times 10. But just like in a fraction, if you do something to the bottom, you got to do something to the top. If I multiply the outside by 10, and then I multiply the inside times 10, you'll now have an equivalent division problem, but that gets rid of this decimal point. All right? So the shortcut, what you need to know, is I'm not going to sit here and do the multiplication problem of 327 times 10, because I know that that gives me 3,270. I'm not going to show the math here, but you can draw the arrow and then show that your decimal point was here and draw an arrow for that one too. That's making your thinking clear. That if I move my decimal point outside, I have to move my decimal point 1 spot inside. And now I've got an equivalent division problem that allows me to solve it, that gets rid of this decimal point on the outside. So now it's 3,270 divided by 12 instead of 327 divided by 1.2. I got rid of my decimal point by moving it over, and then I moved this over, and now it's equivalent, and it's all good. All right? So here we are. I've got my problem set up. Go ahead and move your arrows. Show that we're changing our problem. While you're doing that, I'm going to come over here and write down my multiples of 12 because I think that might be helpful for us, right? So we got 12, you got 24, you got 36, you got your 48, you got your 60, you got your 72, you got your 84, you got your 96. All right, I think that should cover us. Let's see. 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96. Those are my first several multiples of 12. That should help us, right? Although you can't see all that. Let me change my angle. Oh, but if I, oh boy. All right. There we go. Okay. So, divide. 12 doesn't go into 3, but 12 does go into 32. How many times? Twice. Right? Divide. 2 times 12 is 24. That was multiply. Subtract. Look at this. Now, a lot of people get kind of befuddled by all the other stuff, and they start thinking that I can subtract like this, and I can't. You have to regroup here. Right? I can't take 4 away from 2. I had to regroup here to make this a 12 so I could subtract. All right, so that was subtract. Bring down. 12 goes into 87. It's there. 84. That's as close as I can get because the next one is 96. It's too big. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 12 is 84. All right, so I divided. I multiplied. 7 times 12 is 84. Now I subtract. 84 take away, 87 take away 84 is 3. Bring down. I got a 30. 12 goes into 30 twice. That's divide. 2 times 12 is 24. That is multiply. Subtract is 6. Now what? I can bring, oh, Mr. Riddell, you forgot something. Can you yell at Mr. Riddell? Like yell at the top of your lungs. Freak out your parents a little bit. What is the step I forgot? That's right, I forgot to shoot my decimal point straight up. It goes right there. Don't forget it. The decimal point is important. All right, now I've done my subtraction and I have to bring down. I've got one more zero I can bring down, I think. 12 goes into 60. Look at that. Exactly 5 times. 5. 5 times 12 is 60. I'm done. It's set. All right. First thing I did was move my decimal. Made it equivalent by moving the decimal inside as well. I should have shot my decimal straight up when I did that. Mr. Riddell. I made my list. Followed through. 3,270 divided by 12 is 27 and 25 hundredths. There you go. Make sure you write it down. All right, here we go. Real quickly, we're going to move through it one more time. Take a moment, copy our problem down. I already have my 15s. Check that out. What? It's almost as if I planned that. All right, we're all set to go with our list of 15s. That'll be really helpful. All right, first thing I got to do is get rid of my decimal outside. Can't get to have a decimal out there, so I'm going to move it one spot over. Bloop. Now, if it was a problem where there was 2 decimals outside, like if it was 27 and 58 hundredths divided by 0.326, well, then I would have to move my decimal point 1, 2, 3 spots, and then I have to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 spots, right? So as long as it takes to move that decimal over till you get a whole number here, that's how many decimals you move it on the inside as well. All right, but I gave us a nice friendly one here. That's great. So I moved my decimal 1 spot to the right here. That means I gotta move my decimal 1 spot to the right here. And I can hear you already. I can hear you calling out. Don't forget to shoot that decimal straight up. I won't forget, you guys. I made that mistake once. I'm not gonna make that mistake again. All right, gotta divide. 15 goes into 27. It only goes in there once. 1 times 15, that's 15. That was divide, and I multiply. Now I subtract. 27 take away 15, that's gonna give me 12. Now I bring down my 5. 15 goes into 125, how many times? Oh, right there, 120. That's the biggest I'm gonna go, because after that, it's gonna be 135. That's too big, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sounds good to me. 8 times 15 is 120. I subtract. I have 5. Bring down my 8. Look at that. 15 goes into 58. Well, 4 is too big because that's 60. So 3. 3 times 15 is 45. I subtract. I have a 3 and a 1. 13. All right, am I done? Heck no, I'm not done. I gotta bring myself a 0 down. I'm not done until I get to the 100th place here at the least, right? So I brought my 0 down. 15 goes into 130. How many times? Well, 135 is too big, so it has to be 120. We just did that. We just did that right here. It goes in there 8 times. 8 times 15 is 120. Subtract, I have 10. All right, and I think that we're gonna call ourselves done, even though it's kind of not finished. I mean, I didn't get myself down to 0, which would be wonderful if I had, but I don't. I got myself to the 100th place. I think I'm gonna call it good. All right. So take a moment, copy this down, make sure everything lines up. Make sure you pay attention to all those arrows. And I know we've got arrows going this way and shooting up that way and coming down this way. Show it all. It all belongs on your notes. All right, make sure it's all there. And as promised, here is your homework piece. Of course, I want to see now a total of 5 problems in your notes, right? But this is the one that you're going to be working on last, that you're going to do all by yourself. I'm going to look at and see that we are feeling pretty good about our division with decimals. Don't forget, and notice there's a decimal out here. Take it as far as you can get it. You may stop if you get to the 100th place. And we'll see what happens. All right. So don't forget to stop in at office hours if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help you. But let's see some really good work out of you guys. Sorry, it's a long video today, you guys, but you guys can handle it. So talk to you later. Thanks a lot.